Why should a police attorney or a PhD student know anything about style and design? Or maybe the confidence to leave those career paths and create a business, which means they have to come into your home and give you advice. Well, our next two guests who did just that are actually also married and business partners, which is something else I'm going to talk to them about. They've got their creative fingers in a whole lot of pies, from books to videos and brand ambassadorships. But their own company is called AphroChic. And here to tell us more are Jeanine Hayes. Welcome to be here.
Hi.
Ma'am. And her husband, Bryan, with a Y, Mason. Welcome, Bryan.
Thank you, thank you.
So you're our first husband and wife design team.
Oh, wow.
Oh, great.
Well, we love
right.
that. We're honored.
So you found your way to design through some unusual professional channels. I gave a little breakdown of that, but how did that sync up? Who was leading who, or you guys got there together?
I was definitely being led on design. Just to kind of tell a story, we were living in San Francisco. We're originally from Philadelphia. Jeanine was working as a policy attorney, doing anti-domestic violence work, and I was actually working on a PhD at UC Berkeley in African diaspora studies.
Yeah.
And Jeanine has always been really interested in design. I mean, that's always been something she loved. Even when she was in law school, she would kind of go through, and she started sort of putting together these images. She would get images from around the internet, and this was kind of in the pre-Pinterest days. Yeah. She would put together these mood boards on, things that she loved, things she liked, and rooms that she had sort of imagined in her head. And I didn't understand any of it.
Yeah.
I was totally lost. I didn't get how it was going together. And so I said, well, since I'm failing at this conversation, I clearly can't hold up my end of it. Maybe you should start a blog.
So now I say everything that we do is his fault because
So he's like your first worst client.
he was the first
right.
bad client, and he kind of led us on this path to starting AphroChic. We started as a blog, just really writing about modern design and culture. We saw that there was a real gap in the market, that you just didn't really see people of color at home in a lot of the blogs out there. So we were like, we have a nice place. We like design, but why aren't there people that look like us being represented? So that's what we started doing, was just telling the stories of Black homes, basically. And then from that, we developed our own product line, which started to also fill another gap where we couldn't find products that really spoke to an African-American side of home decor.
Well, you're definitely beyond that big fork and spoon that were hanging on so many of grandmama's walls. And to prove it, we've got a video. So take a look at some of the work.
In any place in your home, the largest pieces of furniture are a great canvas for layering color and pattern. And nowhere is this more true than in the bedroom, where the bed, your largest piece of furniture, dominates the space. I'm here today with Angela Belt, the stylist on Remix, and my sister, who's going to give us some quick tips and tricks on how to mix and match pattern in the bedroom.
Here's a few quick tips on how to bring patterns together in your bedroom. Keep color palettes simple. On this bed, we're using a relaxing combination of white and gray with a shot of orange for a burst of energy. The next thing to think about is scale. Contrast small, tight patterns like the diamond motif on this fitted sheet with the larger stripes of the flat sheet. The oversized flower design on this duvet cover lets us combine small, medium, and large patterns for a perfect fit. A shared color, like the gray we're using here, will turn them into complementary elements in your room. And finally, a cultural pattern, like the Kuba print on this long bolster pillow, fits seamlessly into the color palette and style, while adding a final personal touch.
The result is one cool and eclectic space to rest.
Look at that. It's hard work, but then the bed is ready for you to lay it in anyway. So
Fall right into it.
that cycle is very cool. But you spoke a second ago about just that dearth of people of color who are involved in design. I look at HGTV and some of the other networks that feature folks, and there isn't a lot of diversity there, but you guys are stepping up, making your own videos.
Yeah, we've really felt like we'll just do it ourselves. If we see that gap, that's kind of what we've always done at AphroChic is, well, if no one else is doing it, we're going to do it. I think that that's just part of a East Coast DNA in a way. I think that if you're living in a place like Brooklyn or we're from Philly, you know, that hustle is there, and you just feel like if there's not a space, I'm going to make and create a space, and that's what we've done.
And that was a lot of the idea even from the beginning. I mean, the sort of well-kept secret is that there are a lot of people of color in design at really all levels of design, product design, and even in some places at sort of the production level. But the representation is always the issue.
Yeah.
And so AphroChic, which sort of originally began to sort of address that gap and say, we're going to talk about Black people who are doing design, Black people who are doing art, and really sort of speak to that audience, then turned into the products where we decided to sort of step into that gap ourselves and create products that spoke to a cultural heritage, and then eventually turned into a book. I had an opportunity to write Remix, which sort of crystallized the whole AphroChic design philosophy, and it was a lot of fun. We shot in a bunch of different cities. We're in New York, we're in Philly, we're in LA.
Right.
And the idea was essentially that we wanted to talk about that blend of modern design and culture, which was sort of at the heart of what we did, but talk about how the two could be blended together seamlessly so that you didn't feel like you had a cultural space that was too dated, like the fork and spoon you're talking about, or have a modern space that really didn't speak to who you are.
That was so stark, you just look like you're living in an IKEA catalog.
Absolutely.
Well, we've got some images here, and then and just like the previous one, you can see the touches there. There's nothing that people might mistake. There's not cheetah print couches and dashikis hanging on the wall, but they're beautiful, subtle touches. So
absolutely.
Take us through this room. Let's stay on this still.
This is actually our home. This is our living room in Crown Heights.
Jealous.
And we just love to bring in all these elements of bringing in the cultural pieces. So we have beautiful batiks. We have Black art. Everything that's here, it represents who we are. But at the same time, like you said, it's not thematic. I mean, this is still a very modern space. It is a timeless space. It's very classic. And those are the kind of things that we like to blend together. So, you'll come into this space and you know who we are from the moment that you see it. And that's kind of everything that we've done with Remix is we look at design from purely an African American perspective and aesthetic, and we've kind of crystallized, like you were saying, your grandmother's home, but some of those elements you probably saw in your grandmother's home were like color.
Yeah.
We love color. Black people don't shy.
And you have black walls.
We have black walls in the bedroom.
Which makes everything a gallery.
Everything pops.
Yeah, whenever you
off in an amazing way.
Walls.
So there's lots of color, there's lots of pattern. There's those elements that I think all of us saw growing up, in a Black home. But we've taken it and remixed it and made it a little bit more, modern. We have a lot of art in our home. This is actually by Gregory Prescott, a piece by him. He was a Brooklyn-based photographer. There's a lot of Brooklyn in our home too, local artisan work and local designer work.
So how often do you guys change your home? Like, is it like the cobbler's kids with no shoes, or are you constantly like every 3 months, we gotta paint, we're switching out things?
This place is done.
Yeah, there are little things. Like I can look at this picture now and I can see a few things that have, this has changed, this has transitioned a little bit.
Right.
Even some of our own products. So the pillows, the blue pillow that's on the back end of that chair, and actually the black pillow that's on the chair closer to us. I mean, those were our products, and now we have different pillows that we've produced that are now sitting on those chairs. So little touches that kind of go in and out over time, kind of keep things looking fresh. But the idea, like Jeanine said, is very much that we're moving past that thematic idea of Afrocentric design, which has very much been at the cornerstone of Black design for a very long time, and is good and had its reason, politically, socially, and aesthetically, to speak more about specifically what is African American design. What does that look like when you actually start to blend those influences together to create something that speaks to who we are right now.
So speaking of who we are right now, in the time that we have right now, it's allegedly spring. What can I do to freshen up the home a little? You mentioned your pillows are switched out. In our last 30 seconds, give me some tips that won't break the bank, but just freshen up.
Absolutely. I mean, right now, it's a great time for textiles, pillows, changing out the drapery, and also art. I mean, if you're living in the city and you're in Brooklyn, there are a lot of exhibitions going on right now, and there's actually a lot of independent artists who have prints and small pieces that you can actually bring home, get those IKEA frames and put them in there, and they'll look really, really fantastic and give your place a new look.
Phenomenal. So we love it. The Remix team, thanks for being here. AphroChic.com?
AphroChic.com, yeah.
Well, now you know. Thank you for being here.
Thanks
Maybe
for
you can
having
come
us.
and redo our studio.